We have a lot to talk about this morning. I'm very proud of this school because what you're going to get, this sign, a student in this school made it. Now let me just quickly explain to you what that is all about. I have what I call 64 twins. They come to my house and they hear my story for a minimum of 8 hours, which I'm trying to do now in 1 hour for all you guys, okay? And then they get a certificate that they have twinned with me, and that's there. In the Jewish religion, they have to do a mitzvah, something good for the Old Testament, and that's called a bar mitzvah for a boy and a bar mitzvah for a girl. So many my twins, I live here in Randolph, and they all come from across the street in that middle school. I meet them there after their bar mitzvah and bar mitzvah, okay? But that's an important story. A rabbi is only a teacher, okay? But the rabbi will ask you for the bar mitzvah to read from the Old Testament in the synagogue, and then you become an adult, and a rabbi cannot hold a service unless he has what they call a minyan. That means 10 people. Can everybody hear me all right? A minyan means he needs at least 10 people present before he can conduct the service. So if there's a kid in a crowd 13 years young and was bar or bar mitzvah, that makes the number 10, he can conduct the service. That's what a bar mitzvah is all about. So anyhow, I want to start with this. Now, raise your hands, please, if you all got a smartphone. All right. Okay, iPhone or an Android? Mm-hmm. What do you got? An iPhone? Yeah, okay. You got something on that iPhone which I call an app. You know what an app is, right? Okay, one app you're not allowed to put on there. I'm going to spell it for you because I don't wish to pronounce it. Okay, I spell it H-A-T-E. Got it? Opposite from love. If you pronounce it, it becomes what? An application. Now hear me out. If you pronounce it, you must say like what I say and say, okay, Google, delete, delete, delete. You don't have to like broccoli. You don't have to like a snake. You don't the parents don't have to like the president, okay? But no H word. Because the H word, every time it's pronounced, reinforces what it stands for. Those that hear it in your own mind. Please promise me never to pronounce that H word again. It's so misused. If you look around what's going on today in the world, it's a lot of H-A-T-E. Not necessary. You really don't have to like something, but please do not pronounce it. So that's what the story is all about. That's what's about the war in the Ukraine. That's what was the World War II with Adolf Hitler. It was all H-A-T-E against the Jews or against a group of people. I want to, as long as I'm living, I want to erase that word from the vocabulary because it leads to no good. And we are seeing that on a daily basis now. Israel was attacked on October 7th. It's just like Canada would attack the United States. We would defend ourselves. They don't even mention anymore that Israel was the victim. Okay? It's all of this H-A-T-E. Now, my school burned on Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, and I'm going to share that story shortly, tell you why we talk about the Holocaust. You're going to learn the lesson we learned from the Holocaust. You're going to learn that here today. And so let me go one more step right now while I got the time for that. My parents and I survived the Holocaust in Berlin, the capital of Germany. It started in 1933 and it was over in 1945, 12 years. All the other survivors, their Holocaust started when the German army marched into their country. And that started in 1939 and it was over 1945, at 6 years. I had 12 years of Adolf Hitler, my parents and I. My father and I went through the same thing, even though I'm a second generation to my father, okay? So my school burned on Kristallnacht. I was no longer allowed to go to school. I was in 3rd grade, 9 years young. And come to the United States, after the war, I came to the United States, left Berlin in December 1946, and arrived on the East River in January 18th, 1947. Mom says, Fred, you got to go back to school. And Fred, at that point, as a teenager, says, Mom, kids are graduating. I'm going to be 18 now, and they're graduating, and you guys getting out of school. Shut up, you go to school. When Mom says something, and she says, shut up, you go to school, period, okay? You know all that. You will go through the same thing. I had to first do an 8th grade completion course for New American to show that I finished the elementary school. I did that for 1 year, 2 semesters, barely passed the course because I could not speak English. Mom, how long? Says, now, after that 1 year, I could not enter high school. Okay, Mom says, you have to go to high school. You need credits. Mom, what are credits and how many do I need? So I took my birth language, English, German 1 and German 2 for 1 year, okay? I read a book that I fully understood. It was called in German, Die Drei Weisen Männer. In English, the 3 Wise Men. I understood the book. I flunked German 1, my birth language. Why? I had to write an essay what I read in the book in English. Right? Now, with that said, you all signed an agreement with our government, all of you, the Selected Service Commission, right? You're allowed to speak up. I'm now in the United States. I'm over 2 years in high school, just traveling along, trying to learn English and learn the high school, okay? So I get a notice from the government to report to an induction center in Fort Sheridan, Illinois. I was not a citizen for 5 years. When you come to the old days, come to this country, you had to wait 5 years before you can become citizen. I was drafted out of high school because the grandfather of this guy in North Korea right now attacked South Korea. I ended up in Camp Polk, Louisiana. You're looking at a veteran, by the way. Camp Polk, Louisiana. And we were shipped out to Hokkaido, Japan for advanced training and went on the front line in North Korea. I'm a veteran at the same time. I already fought for this country. I fly the American flag at my home 24/7, all lit up properly at night because I'm a veteran and because Harry S. Truman brought the World War II to an end, and I'm alive and I have the pleasure of seeing you here and speaking to you. Now, what Putin is doing in Ukraine, and he also joined the war in Israel, okay, is something that Adolf Hitler was doing. I'm not talking politics here, but if we have troops underground in the Syrian border, and we have our Navy in the Red Sea, there's an actual shooting war. Iran has declared war on the United States. If this goes any further, we could be in another world war, and you're all going to get involved. You have to be aware of that. We cannot keep that a secret, okay? So I fought for this country before I became a citizen, and I'm very proud of it. Now, as I said, one app you have to wipe out is the HATE, and put this in your wallet. And anybody, if you want to give me a wonderful present, never pronounce this word again, and tell them why. Okay? And also, you're very blessed today that I am here, because there are not too many people anymore that can talk about what I can talk about. 12 years in Nazi Germany from beginning to an end. Okay? I was there when Adolf Hitler gave his acceptance speech, when he was appointed chancellor. He was appointed chancellor on January 30th, 1930. Am I right? 1933. Yeah. Okay. And he was appointed by President Hindenburg. Hindenburg did not, Germany, when I was born in 1929, that makes me now, next month in April, 59 years young. It is. I'm still 94 years, 49 years young now. April 25th is the day, okay? Anyhow, I was there. I was 3 years young, and I couldn't understand what the adults were doing. Everybody can hear me okay, right? Mm-hmm. All right. What the adults were doing, they had something what they call an election, okay? And I was a little kid, and I was playing with toy soldiers and stuff like that, and couldn't understand, and I always somebody talked about having an election and they're going to vote for somebody, and the name was Adolf Hitler. Okay? That actually happened. Paul von Hindenburg appointed Adolf Hitler on January 30th, 1933. Hindenburg did not like Hitler. He was not a German. He came from Austria, and he became a citizen later on in Germany, so he could run for president or something. Okay, so I was there when he was appointed chancellor. A chancellor is the same thing that every country has. It's either a prime minister, or it's a chancellor, or something like that. We don't have a chancellor or prime minister in the United States. We got a Secretary of State. The Secretary of State is not elected, is appointed by the president. Okay? So I was there when Hitler gave his acceptance speech. There was an election in 1932. 1932, teacher, right, help me out, okay? There was not a clear winner. So the German election, and Germany was a democratic republic when I was born, after World War I, okay? So the election committee decided to have a runoff election 1 week later. Adolf Hitler rented a small plane from Lufthansa, believe it or not, like the 12-seater or something like that, and in that 1 week time made 21 campaign stops. Like every time we have a primary presidential election, you always got in the end Indiana, Pennsylvania, or Pennsylvania, Indiana, where the candidates go to that state, okay? Hitler actually introduced that in 1932. Well, the election comes up, he did not win. He was not elected. So he was appointed, but immediately in 1933, Jews were discriminated against, immediately, in a democratic republic. And when Hindenburg died, and you all learned that in your Holocaust class, when Hindenburg dies in August of 1934, I was there the entire time. And he died, the Nazi Party came forward and says, let's have a plebiscite, like a referendum. It's a yes or no vote. Let's elect Adolf Hitler. No other candidate on a yes vote or no vote. Okay? The election comes off, and Hitler won by, anytime there's a dictatorship in any country, they always win, and you never know how many no votes there. They disappear, okay, but they always have like a 90% or a 95% range yes vote on that, okay? Well, Germany turned to a dictatorship in 2 weeks after the election in Germany, and I lived the entire time with my parents there. It was extremely segregated. My mom came from evangelical family, a Protestant family. She had 10 brothers and sisters. Married my father. My father was a veteran in his fatherland, Germany, in World War I, fought for the World War I. In the World War I, was wounded. So was Adolf Hitler, fought in World War I. He came to Germany to fight World War I in Germany, okay? My life changed when Adolf Hitler became the chancellor. Immediately, things happened that at first we kind of ignored it because we thought Hitler was, my parents thought Hitler was a rebel rouser, and it's no good what he's doing, but he spread that H-A-T word, the Jews H-A-T, okay. I'm still a kid and not paying attention to it, but immediately in 1934, after he now becomes the chancellor, or the leader, the highest ranked Adolf Hitler ever experienced, he dropped out of high school. He never finished high school. He was a poor student, and he dropped out of high school. Then he enlisted in the German army, German Wehrmacht, fought on the Western Front in France, where my father was also. And when the war was over, he started his rhetoric that Germany and the communists won the war because the Jews and the communists had all the money and they won the war, which is probably is true, okay? But this rhetoric started then. At the end of the war, Germany promised that they would turn into a democratic republic, have a constitution, and all that. And he totally wiped out all those laws and introduced his own laws after he was now elected on a yes and no vote. I found out much, much later, going to the United Nations on Holocaust Remembrance Day every year in January, when Steven Spielberg was there. And Steven Spielberg brought with him the CEO of the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. By the way, I've been there 115 times with busloads of students like you and speak on the bus about the Holocaust and show them in the museum what's going on. Anyhow, the CEO says what I never knew. It says that only 45% of the public voted yes. That means 55% didn't even show up at the polls. So Hitler and even the yes vote was in a minority, okay? But Germany became a dictatorship, and look at the harm that he caused, right? For some reason, I'm alive. I respect it, because I was never bar mitzvah. I couldn't be, they're not allowed to stop me from going to school. My school burned in 1938, the night of broken glass. They call it crystal knot, and it's not, the crystal is very fine china. There's nothing, there was nothing pretty about the night of broken glass, okay? I actually walked to school on that day. Anybody by chance been to Berlin? Beautiful city.
I lived there for 3.5
Huh?
years.
You lived there? You know where the KaDeWe is? KDW, the department store?
I wonder if it's
Sure you know. It's down, you know where the Wittenberg Platz is?
Yeah.
I lived right there. And the big department store is right across a big square. Is a famous department store, all right? So then that's a very nice, entertaining district. That's what they call movie theater palaces. There's a zoo, the one movie theater is called the Zoo Palace. Big movie theater like Radio City Music Hall in New York, okay? I lived right there. Anyhow, I'm still a kid and I don't understand much what's coming off, but it gets increasingly difficult every year there is. In 1935, the Nuremberg laws were passed. There are over 600 anti-Semitic laws what Jews were not allowed to do. My mother married my father in the 1920s, and I was born in 1929. That makes me next month 59 years young. Got it figured out, right? To please my father, she converted to Judaism from being a Protestant, okay? Now, the Nuremberg laws said, no, there's no Jewish blood in here. She's still an Aryan. Aryan is a made-up word that means a race type thing, okay? There is no Aryan, okay? But they did not recognize that she were converted to Judaism, so my father could raise me by the Old Testament, okay? She was not discriminated against. As a matter of fact, the Gestapo, which is the secret police in Germany at that time, and the Gestapo in uniform is the SS in the war. They're all SS, okay? The Gestapo says, no, there is no, the Nuremberg law says there's no Jewish blood in my mother's family. She is still an Aryan. And the Gestapo actually came to my mom and said, if you're a good national German, Nazi, that's where Nazi comes from. Okay, a national German, she would divorce the husband that she married. Had she done that, I would not be here today. I came this close to be transported to Auschwitz, okay? But before I even go into that, no, I just go along, and the Nuremberg laws totally restricted all Jews. Jews no longer were allowed to intermarry to another, they can get married Jews to Jews, but could no longer intermarry. That was one of the laws. Jews had a curfew from dusk to dawn. Jews were fired from all government jobs very early, all right? Actors were like Broadway type of stuff couldn't no longer find work in the theaters and the cabarets. And Jews were totally discriminated and couldn't do it. I lived within a couple blocks of the most beautiful zoo in Berlin, if you ever been there, okay? Could not go there because I was a Jew. I violated all those. I was not allowed to own a bicycle growing up, so I got myself roller skates. He says, that's life, and I just accepted everything. I was not allowed to go to movies. We were not allowed to have a radio, and the radio only had 2 stations on there. Radio Berlin and Radio Germany, Radio Munich and Radio Germany, Radio Cologne and Radio Germany. My father and I carried the radio to the police station. We had to give it up. We were not allowed to own a car. I have a driver's license. There are over 600 laws. We were not allowed to go. If you go to a doctor, it had to be a Jewish doctor. Later on, there were no more doctors left for us. Okay, Jews were not allowed to be non-Jews. Jewish doctors were not allowed to treat non-Jews. Okay, and the same thing with lawyers, stuff like that. Well, that's what I saw growing up, and I really lost 12 years of my youth. Right now, I'm living my youth because I'm in an environment that I wanted to be, was it about 91 years ago by now? Something like that, right? And I'm very, very blessed for some reason, and I started recognizing that every day I do something. Today is a great day for me to be here, to talk to you. I know how you feel because I was your age, and I do what you're doing. I can assure you, you do the same thing, especially the girls. Mom says when you were young, go to bed now, blah, blah, blah. Yes, Mom, and you would go to bed, but hang out someplace and listen what the grown-ups were talking about. Don't tell me you don't do that. We all do that, okay? And the other thing that I'm very proud of what I'm doing, when I came to the United States in 1947, the war is over, and then finding some food, living normally. So when I finally started working, I got a little bit of money, and I worked. My first job was in New York City when I came to the United States. We were all interned in New York City in Manhattan on 103rd and Broadway. It was 102nd and Broadway is a hotel. So the new immigrants coming in were housed there, and they got 2 meals a day, a breakfast and a dinner, all right? But we had no money. And then at that time in 1947, they had experienced something like we now call a nor'easter. New York was snowed in. The only thing that was running was the subway. The subway didn't see any snow. They had no snow plows in Manhattan. The people who would tell would shovel the sidewalk on 102nd and Broadway. It was a good time. And I don't know why I mentioned it. I always get off the subject and then come right back again. I love the United States. And something is different here than it's in Europe. Europe is more not old-fashioned. Good stuff came out of Europe, especially the like France, Italy, Germany, the advanced countries. Good doctors, famous doctors. Many diseases were eliminated by them, and so forth. So I just come along, and I find myself a job because you had a nor'easter, and they couldn't find housing for us. We want to go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because my mother met somebody in Germany in a bread line. I mean, if you find out we're allowed to come to the United States, we were admitted. Mom is standing in line to get a half a loaf of bread once a week at the bakery, and she started befriending a person there, and the person said, my mom says we're leaving for the United States. Oh, started wailing. I just got a new friend, went through bad things with us, and blah, blah, blah. Now you're leaving me. But if you go to the United States, can you do me a favor? Sure. Her sister lives in the United States. Could my mom or my parents possibly go and visit her? So my mom says, sure. Well, we lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's why we ended there. We went, okay? They have no clue that how big the United States is. Okay, and I actually went, her sister passed away, but we went to the funeral in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They thought they're all in New York. Anyhow, that's really the end of my, not the end here yet, but what I want to interject into what I had to say here today. Now, we're going to ask me a question in a second, but now as we go along, the 1936 Olympics were in Berlin. Jews were not allowed to participate. Some did. Some were brought back from England to do something in the name of Germany, but otherwise they were not allowed, and we're not allowed to attend. Nothing like that. Okay, so that's life. You have to obey laws, okay? So that gets worse and worse. So I remember the September 1, 1939. No, first of all, Kristallnacht is in 1938 in November, and I get up in the morning, and we lived in an apartment building in Berlin we had lived on a ground floor, and I could climb out my window, and there's they have many European apartments have a courtyard. They have a front building, a side building, and a back building, and there's a courtyard in between. Now there are parking places, but then they have a little grass there and a tree growing, that sort of thing. I actually could climb out of one of my downstairs windows and be right on the lawn and play. All right, I enjoyed it. There's a huge chestnut tree, and I would pick up chestnuts, and my father taught me how I could make a necklace. If you put a string through it, punch a hole, and make a necklace out of that. So that's how I entertained myself. I had wonderful toys. Now, when I was born, 1929 was the Great Depression, and you would buy a loaf of bread in the morning for, I don't know, 40 marks or something like that, but there was inflation there. By afternoon, it was 150 marks, and it would double constantly, and was into the millions and billions, all paper money. That's what super inflation is, okay? So, but my father, by trade, was an upholsterer, and he could lay carpeting, he could upholster seats like this and couches, hang drapes. I do not know where he learned, because I never asked him. I was not interested in it. Ask your father what your father was doing, okay? But he was an expert on that. and so he would upholster. He was not allowed to work at the beginning, and then later on it was mandatory that he does work. Every Jew has to do mandatory labor after he works 3 kilometers to a train or straight. We call it streetcar, actually a bus on tracks. Okay, and then he could get a permit to drive. They use public transportation. He had to work 48 hours a week. All right. All that was happening, but before he did that, he would actually use his tools that he knew, his trade that he knew, hanging drapes, carpeting, find jobs like this. And when he would work privately for other people, or upholster there, he could restring mattresses even. He could do all that. He was very handy on that. And they had no money. So their kids now all gone to school, and they all had wonderful toys. I have at that time, a beautiful electric train with railroad tracks going through one room to another one, and had a train station as big as the stable that I put down on the floor and played with that. And I became interested in electricity. Why the train runs, okay? It runs on the track of already?
Well, you have about like 20 minutes. So
Okay, all right.
life
Yeah,
after
okay, anyhow, I'm just describing just entertaining myself.
After 1939, when the war started.
Yeah, I want to bring this up right away because otherwise we won't have time to talk about it. Let's jump forward to 1943. The Allies bombed the living daylights out of us. I did not mind. If I was very scared. It's not good, but it was a kind of bombing that the Allies respected civilians. Just like what Israel is doing in Rafah and Gaza City, okay, bombed structures that will end the war, all right, the intelligence center and so forth, but not for really civilian housing. Or once in a while, war people bomb will drop in civilian housing also. So the bombs were designed, even those that needed to destroy the enemy here, Germany being the enemy, the bomb would explode on the second level of the building. Then everything that exploded, now all the stairways are full of debris, you can come up. Now, every building in Germany that was adjacent to another building, not a standalone home, some apartment buildings, had a cellar, a basement type of thing. And the government insisted that each building has 2 brick wall. That's 4 brick wall from one building to another, which is called the firewall. So you had to break, the government made everybody break from one cellar to the next building to the 4 bricks and seal it with 1 layer of brick. And then if you cannot find a stairway coming up, you just kick it in with your foot and you get in the next cellar. Eventually you find a stairway to come up. I actually was buried. The siren sounded, and then you would have a little time. You don't know if the enemy, if they would come to Berlin and bomb, because that's when they're not sure, but just follow the planes which way they're going. And I actually stayed on the street. My father was at work, mandatory work. My mom went to what they call a farmer's market to get some free vegetables like sauerkraut and stuff like that, make sauerkraut and whatever. And I'm home alone and the siren sound, and Jews were not allowed to entered the public air raid shelters. Okay? We lived in the apartment building. We were not even allowed to. We had to go an hour. We had a little locker in the basement for potatoes, stuff like that, to hold you over the winter, and fire material to heat the stoves and ovens, type of thing. Okay, so we would sit in a small cubicle, and the building superintendent says, "Mrs. Hyman, why don't you come over to our side in the basement? We have more nice equipment and seating arrangements." And so we came there, but we were not allowed to speak. We were not allowed to speak to Germans. We lost our citizenship. Okay. Well, anyhow, the bombs stop, and I hear the sirens, and I'm standing in front of the air raid shelter, and a beautiful sunny day. 10 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden I look up, I see a dark sky, planes coming in like this. There were guys over here smoking. They said, "Come on over, you want a cigarette?" "No, I don't want to give myself away." "No, thank you." And I see the planes coming, say, "They're coming right there." And I'm running down the bare stairway. This is a public air raid shelter. It's like an earthquake already. The stairway goes like this. The bombs are dropping. 3 bombs hit the building. Think this like a huge tray with peas on it. The planes come in, line up like this, with the peas on it. These are all bombs, and drop them. If they drop a square like this, that square is totally flat after the bomb raid. One squadron ends here, and the next squadron starts here, ends there, and they call that carpet bombing. Well, I was buried there till late afternoon, found a way to finally get up. I got on the street, I see flying cinders burning. So we try to get away from the smoke, and there's a subway station. We were down on the subway. My father could not find me till about 8 o'clock at night. My mother this was on a Saturday, my mother never got back in that sector until Tuesday. Actually, a lot of huge fires. They have actually a firestorm, and the asphalt in the street was melt. Fire department would come in, and my mom actually saw fire department come in. Their tires caught fires and they couldn't get out. That's what war is like. I don't know why I survived all this. But one more thing here that I must tell you. At about the same time when Allies started bombing, Joseph Goebbels was the propaganda minister of Germany. He wants to make Adolf Hitler a birthday present, and Adolf Hitler's birthday was on April 20th. And so in February, he makes a raid of all the remaining Jews in Berlin to give Adolf Hitler a birthday present. That by his birthday, Berlin is what they call Judenrein, Jews free. Jews were never free. Okay? So he arrests my father on a Saturday morning. I remember that day very well. My mom is in the kitchen making a sandwich. I remember it was a liverwurst sandwich. I love liverwurst, and it's so bad, full of cholesterol, okay? All right. "Mom, what are you doing?" It's our dad is not coming home today. He was arrested. What are you talking about? Now, we had no telephone. We had no radio, okay? I don't know. One of her sister or brothers must have notified her. My father was arrested at work, was housed at Rosenstrasse. Rosenstrasse was a facility like an old age home or something like that. And they housed all the remaining Jews there, probably 1,000 or better. And my father says to my mom, "What are you doing?" So I'm making sandwich, bring it to my father because he's not going to be fed. And that's true, they wouldn't feed him, all right? So I remember everything in detail. It was a very cold day. We walked to the Stadtbahn, called the elevated city train, And it was a very cold day, and took the train several stops to where we had to go and walk to Rosenstrasse. There were a whole bunch of wives from the husbands that were arrested. They were all Aryans. Okay, they were all intermarried. And they were demonstrating there, give us back our husbands, okay. From that point on, when we got to Rosenstrasse, something scares me. You can probably find that scene on, they made a couple movies on that, and seen on YouTube. YouTube is very great, has all that stuff there, okay? So my mind goes blank, and I found out later on, something scared the living daylights out of me. What came was the SS, the Gestapo in uniform, with machine guns on the truck, and were shooting in the air to disperse the crowd. It's called the Frauen's protest, or women's protest, or also the factory protest. All the women were there. There were German soldiers that were married to wives that were Jewish type of thing, okay? So I was there. I remember that day, but I went totally blank at the scene. And there's a nice memorial there at that sign. If you want to, you can see a movie on YouTube becoming fine called Fred the Upstander. All right, one of my twins made that movie. All right, and there's a you see the Rosenstrasse Memorial where it happened. Anyhow, why I'm alive, I do not know, but I respect it. I think it's the same God, just a different book, guys. You get one Christmas present. We have Hanukkah for 10 days. I'm supposed to get 10 presents. Oh, I never get 10 presents either. Anyhow, I'm here today to share that with you. I think the time is short. There's so much more to share with you. Please do me one favor. Do not pronounce the H word anymore. You don't have to like. You really don't have to like something. But the H word is like a smoker who lights another cigarette, reinforces the habit. We can change the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay? Thank you. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to open it up to some questions. So stand up for a quick second, stretch for a quick second. You guys are not used to sitting very much.
Testing, 1, 2.
All right, yeah, get that stretch in. Fred, you need to take a stretch. All right. So we're going to ask some questions. All right, Ms. Sterling's going to pass around a microphone. So does anyone want to start? First.
Steve, this is the gentleman who helped make the cards.
Oh,
This is Mr. Coleman, Steve Coleman. This is Freddie.
thank you so much for making the cards.
You're welcome.
Make as many as you can, hand it out to every class.
I have to file, so I have to make a bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah, make it more, because I've asked these kids to wipe out an app on their iPhone. They don't have Android iPhones, okay? But the app is spelled H-A-T-E. If we can write, you don't have to like the president, and you don't have to like broccoli, all right? So if they do that, I feel rewarded, okay? And let's get you guys on the map. Pamela Wildstein made that sign.
Yes, yes.
And
All right,
I
Fred,
made
we're gonna
this.
ask some questions
Okay,
now,
all
all right?
Thank you so much for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Reproduce, but put your name on it someplace.
Okay.
Randolph High School.
All right, Fred, we got a couple questions here for you.
All right, go ahead, shoot.
Hi. So, I was wondering if you faced any discrimination when you were in the United States.
Speak it.
Me.
Oh, say again?
If you
can stand
faced.
up, Juan.
Oh. I was wondering if you faced any discrimination when you were in the United States.
Where is my,
Right.
yeah, help me out what he's saying.
He wants you to. Did you say any discrimination when you came to the United States after the war?
Yes, I came to the United States and settled in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I got my first job in Manhattan, working in a sweatshop, which is now Theater Rose. They were in the sub basement, and they made tie clips for and sold them on Times Square for 50 cents. Okay, and I wanted money. Okay, found a job, and I made 30 cents an hour. Then the boss came and said, "Well, you want to work overtime?" I said, "What is overtime?" "Well, you're making, what are you making money? You're making 30 cents an hour. You get time and a half. That makes it, 45 cents. I worked all the overtime I could.
Did you face any discrimination because you were
Yeah, I'm
Jewish?
coming to that. So I got $40 out of that before we left Manhattan, and I could buy myself my first good camera, what I called a good camera. Anyhow, now I found other jobs when I settled in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I hired on with a big paint company, and they had me cleaning the brushes, stuff like when the painters come back to the shop and that sort of thing. Well, actually, before that, even I had a job. I started to learn to become an electrician apprentice in Germany. So I became an electrician helper in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But the helper didn't like me not because I was a Jew, but he has a brother. He just came home from the war, World War II, and couldn't find a job, and I took his job away. I didn't take his job away, okay? So that's the only discrimination that I saw.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can just pass it around.
Go ahead. Brooke, come on up. Oh. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, don't be bashful.
Don't be bashful.
How did the Holocaust affect your faith?
How did the Holocaust affect your faith?
I always, now more than ever, I believe I believe in God, okay? I was not bar mitzvahed because the Nazis would not allow it. My Jewish education stopped. I one time learned the Hebrew alphabet, but now I can only say one prayer in Hebrew. It's called the Shema Yisrael. But that's it. And I feel so blessed to have no idea that what I went through in the war itself. The war is over. Stalin insisted that he would have to liberate Berlin, okay? And when Stalin came to Berlin, we were again in that underground shelter that was bombed out. We crawled back in there because it was a little bit safer. And all of a sudden, it's a dark room, and there's a loud explosion over there, flash on the. What the troops do when they hear voices, they throw either use a flamethrower or throw in a hand grenade. So I threw in a hand grenade, and even then I survived. We all screamed, don't shoot civilians, okay? And they come in. I was 16 on that day, about 16 years young. My mother saved me a watch, my first wristwatch. Now I got an Android, okay? A first wristwatch, okay? I was so proud. I got my first watch. I just got it in that cellar for my mother on my birthday. And now this explosion, the Russians come in and stand there like this. All the watches are exposed, and a little guy with some sort of weapon and across his chest, a Russian guy, takes my wristwatch that my mother just gave me. It's okay, I'm gonna get another one. I had wait another 16 years, okay? Now you guys only want a car at 16. I know that. So anyhow, I am so blessed to be here today. You can do me the greatest favor, and you favor yourself, wipe out the HATE, because that's what brings it all together in the world. What Iran is doing, it disturbs me that in our Congress they do the same thing. You don't have to like the president, all right? And we, as I said, there's a lot of danger out there, and wars always get worse and better. We now have the nuclear thing and other things. A drone can hit Times Square eventually. Think about it. How do you know, that's the world we're going into. We gotta somehow become the majority of wiping out AIDS. And love everybody. I like everybody. We're all human beings.
I'm gonna try to get one more question in, okay? Anybody else have another question?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Anybody?
Okay. All right, well, everybody, what do we say to Fred? Before you leave, we have a little surprise for you.
I like
Okay.
surprises.
All right.
You guys are great, by the way. Oh my God.
So, because next month,
Somebody take a picture of
you don't
this.
see this, it's fine. We have fire drills. All right. So because you're 95 next month, and we're not going to
59.
Yes, you're right. 59. We wanted to wish you a very happy birthday
Somebody
from your Randolph
please
family.
take a picture, please. Okay, right here.
All right, we're gonna get a little cheesy here, guys. Can we get a little cheesy for me? All right. Happy birthday
To you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Fred, happy birthday to you.
I thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was on my 49th birthday last year in Greeley, Colorado. I had all the 8th grader in the town of Greeley, 1,000 8th graders. And they found out my birthday was the day when I spoke. They all did the same thing you did here, and sang happy birthday. And I said, okay, now you owe me a present. Don't worry, it costs you no money, all right? But you're saying happy birthday, you have to promise me to wipe out the HAT word, and they all do. I had 7 appearances in Greeley, Colorado, in schools in 3 days, covered about 2,700 students and adults. And they all promised me that. That's
You
it.
better blow this out before.
I'll-
Wait. Yeah!